I wish I were a spirit instead of a boy, because then I would know I was going to heaven. I know that I would be back there someday. And I know I would know that everything will be all right, you see. But instead I'm a boy. So I'm saying I wish I wasn't in this body and didn't have to live this life. Because we are all tempted by the enticements of this world. Now, God is a perfect God, will always fall short of his glory and be imperfect in his sight. For that reason, I'd like to get as good as I could possibly get before him and then say, Father, hold on to this. Take note of this. I want you to accept me the way you see me acting right now. I want you to just accept me here being as good as I possibly can. And Father, I would like you to hold it right there and remember that moment. Here's why. Because I think we all go through varying degrees of temptation. The enemy is looking for the slightest opening in our armor to try to get in any way you can. Frankly, I want to know that I'm secure. And here's the bottom line with knowing I'm going to heaven. Here's the bottom line. I do believe we have to be worried about it every second of every day. There's 7 days in a week, 24 hours in a day. How many seconds is that in a week? Quite a few seconds. Every second, we've got to be walking the straight and narrow path to know that we're really going to be with Christ. That if he did come back in a rapture, he would take us with him, you see. I'd like to somehow be there right now. I'm not saying I want to be dead. That's not what I'm saying. I love living. Am I frightened of dying? Yes. But what I'm saying is, I would just like to know. I somehow wish I could sort of just get it over with and say, wow, I made it. I'm in heaven. And I'm okay. You see, today, I heard something about how some scientists, even ungodly ones, were saying there were only some 89 seconds before midnight on their so-called Doomsday Clock. Now, taking that into consideration, what do you need for reassurance that you're going to be all right if they're telling the truth? To be friends with this God and with this Jesus. So in closing, that's why you and I have got to be as good as we possibly can be every second of every day and every week. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We've got to be as good as we can be before Christ and before God. To hope and pray that he's going to take us with him. Or we have a second thing to worry about. Perhaps we'll die before then, and then we have to worry about it. Don't you see what I mean? So in closing and in summary, I'm saying that it's so obvious to me that this life doesn't matter at all, and the life to come does matter. I'll give you percentages. The life to come matters about 99% out of 100, and this life we're living now matters to me about 1%, and that's just that I want to get by every day. But 99% of my emphasis out of 100% is on what's going to happen after this life. We've got to have eternal salvation and know that we're going to heaven. It's purported that this man named Christ Jesus is the only way that we'll ever get to heaven. We've got to have him, and we've got to be focused on him at all times, not some of the time, part of the time, not once in a while. We've got to be looking at him constantly saying, Father, I'm thinking about you. Please take me with you to heaven. People, it is simple, and as simple as that. So start thinking like that every second of your existence. That's all that matters to me. I'm so thoroughly convinced that this life is but a vapor. It's not about this life, but it's about the life to come. It isn't even funny. We've got to be right with God. That's all he asks, is that we accept him and believe in him and not try to say, no, there isn't a God, when we all know darn well there is one. Nothing could have created something. Nothing couldn't have created something. Let's put it that way. Had to be a creator, eh? Even though it's hard for any of us to comprehend. I know. We've got to believe it anyway. I'll see you the next time. And until then, may Jesus bless.